This is a Storm Team 12 weather alert.
All right, welcome back. We do continue with this tornado warning for northern Sheridan County. We have seen indications on Twitter, some pictures coming from this storm suggesting there is a tornado happening at the present time, and the storm is ever so close to Selden. We can't stress it enough. If you're in this area, extreme northern sections of Sheridan County, you need to get below ground if at all possible. Basements are always the safest place to be to ride out these kinds of scenarios. If that's not an option, closets, bathrooms, good places to go. Put as many walls between you and an approaching storm as you can, because remember, every wall that you put between you and this approaching storm is just one more layer of protection if there's anything flying around. And obviously that's what tornadoes do. It's strong winds, there's debris, could be just about anything as this storm now moves in on the Selden area.
Ross, we are getting some pictures and video in here. This is from the Selden area, from Chad Griffin in that area. Clearly a tornado as it is reaching the ground. Don't have details on exactly where this is. And Ross mentioned, and Ross, you were talking, we don't have the exact report on whether this was on the outside of town, on the outskirts. But again, we are seeing damage. Again, this one from Chad. And guys, we do have, did you say we do have another picture? All right, look at some video here. And Ross, what are we looking at here?
Well, definitely a tornado, but a cone-shaped tornado. And what stands out to me is if you look to the right part of the main cone, that to me appears like we're looking at this multi-vortex. You see there on the right part of the main cone, that looks like another smaller tornado that's kind of rotating around the cone-shaped tornado. It looks like an upside-down traffic cone, if you will. But it definitely looks like the circulation extends all the way to the ground, and by definition, we have a tornado there.
Yep, some damage photos. I'm looking at these with you for the first time. Michael Grogan, and that, Ross, is that a house or a shop there? It looks like a shop off to the side of the house there, possibly. Clearly some roof damage here from Michael's shots, and we're waiting for the emergency manager. And Ross, did you say you do have a report from NWS, from the emergency manager out there on?
Yeah, emergency manager reporting that buildings and trees are down, homes damaged, an overturned semi, and one possible injury. Again, this is early on.
This is a Storm Team 12 weather alert.
I ask for prayers just because I know that there are some families that'll be displaced. Just praying for the community, for the financial loss, the material loss, and of course, this has a great emotional impact on people as well.
That's a pastor in northwest Kansas asking for your prayers tonight after a tornado outbreak leads to reports of widespread damage and injuries reported. So in the town of Selden, we'll update you on all of that, give you an idea of where that is. It is in Sheridan County. You can see Colby there on the map, just off to the east of there. So overturned trucks and trains, damaged homes, grain bins torn open. Just some of the reports we are hearing tonight out of Sheridan County. We do have Team 12 coverage for you. We walk you through the damage. Also a timeline from all of tonight's storms. So let's get back out to the damage there in northwest Kansas. Again, this all happening in the town of Selden. This is just east of the town of Colby. Colby and Thomas County. We're talking about Sheridan County off to the east there. Pretty small town. So we're talking census in 2010, 219 people living there. So everyone comes together in a situation like this to help recover. I just talked to the emergency manager. There were initial reports of injuries. In fact, troopers told us they responded to some injury accidents due to semis that had blown over in this tornado. Good news from him, though. He just texted me and said officially no injuries. Plenty of buildings, though, damaged or destroyed. Now, as far as homes, he's saying 3 to 4 homes with severe damage, but down trees and down power lines. And as Jacob here, we'll go to him with some more of these pictures. Jacob Albrock, in Selden tonight, we're hearing from a man who says the cleanup effort started immediately. Jacob?
Yeah, we'd expect nothing else, Mike. When the things clear and things are not quite as dangerous in the moment, everybody's going to help each other out. That's what you do. In Kansas, that's what you do in a small town. So earlier we spoke with Pastor Jacob Shadle. He's the pastor of the Selden United Methodist Church there. He says there's a lot of damage across town, and he showed us that damage through these pictures: buildings, trees, power lines all down. That includes the grain elevators along Highway 83 that runs through town. While emergency crews are still evaluating all the damage, he says there are likely homes that are unlivable after that tornado came through. And as Mike mentioned, Selden's a small town. Pastor Jake calls it a tight-knit community. He says minutes after the tornado, people were already in the streets helping in and checking on their neighbors.
you can't even drive down the block without seeing people out just helping and checking on people. Our volunteer fire department is just doing a phenomenal job. I ask for prayers just because I know that there are some families that'll be displaced. Just praying for the community, for the financial loss, the material loss, and of course this has a great emotional impact on people as well.
All right, so let's walk you through what we know. Our chaser in the area tells us roads are still closed there. The grain silos damaged. A train was overturned. The Kansas Highway Patrol, again, told us troopers were responding to reports of overturned semis with, at that time, they thought maybe injuries. Again, though, nobody was hurt. We got that great news right before the newscast. There's also damage to homes and the historic hotel there. And we're hearing reports of downed power lines and a gas leak. So for now, we know the help will be needed later, but for now, tonight, officials asking you to kind of stay clear until they can get things cleaned up.
Jacob, thank you. Emergency manager also telling me they are in the process of clearing those roads, so hopefully a lot of those roads opening back up so help can get in.
Everybody else safe. A tornado in northwest Kansas leaving behind a trail of destruction. Got Team 12 coverage for you this morning. We've got Braxton Jones getting a closer look at that damage left behind, and Amy Lanski with a look at the cleanup efforts this morning.
That's right, Shane. So I am here on Kansas and Main. Earlier I was showing you that debris that was right over there across the street from me. Now I am outside of a furniture store. You can see that they have their windows boarded up already, but behind me you can see right back there. You can see there's an ice machine turned over, as well as some debris. The undersheriff here says that there is no shelter for people because it wasn't necessary, since people who were displaced, well, they had somewhere to go. Now, the fire training chief says that the mayor signed a disaster declaration last night, and he also says that as soon as it starts to get light out, they are expecting people to come out here to the streets and start cleaning up. Back to you.
Well, thank you, Amy. Let's get over to Braxton Jones, who's live out in Selden this morning as well. He's been talking with officials and getting a closer look at some of that damage. Hey, Braxton.
Well, Shane, that damage is still on the ground. The cleanup efforts are supposed to continue when the sun is up, but rain has moved into the area, so there's no telling if that will delay those efforts until this storm moves on. It's interesting, when the sun comes up, you can see more of what's around us, some of the things that we couldn't see when it was dark outside. You're seeing more homes that were hit by this tornado, some that have been affected. We were asked to stay in this area for our safety until the undersheriff and the sheriff could come back and personally escort us around so that we could remain safe. But exactly what you said, the damage is here, and it's some things that this town will ultimately look to rebuild quickly rather than wait the long game. Now, we were talking with officials here, and they said that this was something that the warning process was harder because the electricity going out, there was no way for the sirens to sound. Instead, law enforcement and firefighters were going up and down streets throughout the town warning people that the tornado was coming. One of those firefighters was Micah Gosher. He's the captain here with Selden Fire Department, and he was telling me that, you know, this was something that he wanted to make sure that he was able to help people get to safety. He was actually hurt in that process. He was hit by a down power line. It wasn't active at all in the back of his head and neck area. He is okay. He's actually back out here continuing the cleanup efforts later on this evening. He says this is something that he was trained to do, and he was glad to help out his neighbors.
That's my job on the department, is to make sure everything's good. I mean, we've got a motto: risk a little to save a little, risk a lot to save a lot, risk a life to save a life. And so we're out here doing everything we can to keep everybody else safe.
You heard him there quote that motto of how they operate within this fire department here. Mike was actually the last firefighter here for the night before he decided to go in and get some sleep. We actually saw him minutes later when the power turned back on, and he was actually back outside making more rounds to check on the progress here in the county. We'll have more from Selden later on coming up in shows.
There's stuff flying around. The wind was really strong all at once, and then it went through pretty fast.
I was getting on the microphone telling them, hey, it's here, we need to get inside, get in your basement.
I told my wife, I says, I'll bet you that was a tornado.
this is a pretty resilient community, and they're very proud of that fact.
We like to help each other out when we need it.
I know this town, and I know what these people are made of, and they will rebuild.
Well, the town of Selden, Kansas continues to assess damage left by the tornado that hit late last night. Some new video of that tornado just into our newsroom tonight. And boy, we are getting some incredible images. This from a storm chaser as it crosses a road right in front of him, showing some of the power of this storm. We do have Team 12 coverage for you tonight in Selden, in the northwest Kansas community, as it continues to look at that damage, begin to clean up and rebuild. Shawn Logging and Caroline Elliot are both in Selden for us to bring you the latest from on scene. There's a pretty good look at video of that tornado that would hit the town of Selden last night. Tonight we're getting a better idea of some of the damage it left behind. So take a look at video here from Skyhawk 12, giving you a bird's eye view. A lot of rooftops damaged in this storm. Caroline Elliot in Selden has an update on the damage done to buildings and homes.
Mike, the latest from emergency management officials is that over 100 properties were damaged, leaving shattered glass and debris scattered across town. Now, right now, we're standing in the heart of downtown, but the west side experienced the most extensive damage. We're told several homes were at a total loss. You can hear the heartbeat of rural America as the small town of Selden works to rebuild.
This is rural America. This is what makes America strong. People caring about each other.
The strength of Selden is evident after a tornado touched down Monday night.
We knew that we were in a tornado watch, and we heard the sirens going, and so I was in the west bedroom window in our house, and I saw the tornado. That house and that garage could have been flattened, and it wasn't.
Dozens of homes were damaged, some at a total loss. But the town quickly came together to clean up and rebuild.
We just have a lot of people that have come to help clean up, and it's just been overwhelming.
Fixed fence for us.
Cut up trees, down trees, buildings, picked up pieces.
After today, we'll be in pretty good shape. That's amazing. In 24 hours, we can say that.
Now, some homeowners are facing a much longer road to recovery. We're told by emergency management that at least 7 homes are at a total loss. In Selden, Caroline Elliot, Eyewitness News.
Caroline, thank you. There was one injury from the tornado, and that was a firefighter expected to be okay. And it's that firefighter's efforts that helped make sure no one else was hurt. The sirens did sound in Selden, but they went out when the tornado knocked out electricity. Law enforcement and volunteer firefighters then went up and down the streets trying to warn people. One firefighter was doing just that when a power pole broke, went through the window of the fire truck and hit him in the head.
We've got a motto: risk a little to save a little, risk a lot to save a lot, risk a life to save a life. And so we're out here doing everything we can to keep everybody else safe.
He didn't let it stop him, kept going to warn people and clean up the debris. Just getting this in right now, the National Weather Service has been out there. That has now been rated as an EF1 tornado there in the town of Selden, an EF1. And that's pretty typical with the kind of damage we're seeing here. That's what they look for, is they go and assess that damage. That's how they give those tornadoes the ratings. Crews in Selden do continue to look at this damage. And as Caroline mentioned, right now at least 7 homes have been deemed unlivable. That number is expected to go up. Officials say they are impressed with what the city looks like now compared to what it looked like just last night.
This is a pretty resilient community, and they're very proud of that fact, and it's showing today with them going out and having the cleanup that they've got.
We showed you this last night, a better look here from Skyhawk, the grain bins there in Selden. This will be tough for some folks because we're about a month away from wheat harvest out there. Power is back on in the town, thanks to crews from Midwest Energy there working throughout the night to make that happen. There has been a massive outpouring of support for that town, their community's population more than doubling in size, with well over 300 volunteers showing up already today to help with the cleanup effort.
Picking up the mess after a devastating tornado tore through Selden.
It was bad enough, let's put it that way. So yeah, it was bad enough.
But hundreds of volunteers,
but these people are great,
are helping homeowners and businesses turn this town scattered with debris to look drastically different than a day earlier.
It made a lot of difference. I can't believe how they just come in and offer to do everything, you know.
Stephen Carmen received some of that help Monday and Tuesday after the tornado damaged his roof and toppled over trees.
I can't believe how many people showed up, you know. They all come together. Whether it doesn't matter what politics you are or what religion, it makes no difference. Everybody's right here.
The city's saying that support coming and the danger lifted Monday night.
I was just crawling with people by the time I got out of my house and got down the street.
While cleanup and repair is top of mind for most, others are making sure this town is well stocked on food and water and keeping everyone fed.
We got 2 employees that live here in Selden, and one of the employees' houses got some windows broke out and stuff, so kind of decided it's a good deal to come over and help them out and feed some of them.
With what this town went through, it is much appreciated.
COVID's over now, so we can give them a hug, you know.
And will continue to be needed in the days to come. In Selden, Shawn, Eyewitness News.
Well, people in Selden are now cleaning up after that tornado. Reporter Amy Lanski talked to one man who says he hasn't seen anything like this there. She continues our Team 12 coverage.
Tuesday was a clear morning in Selden, but Monday, that was not the case. One couple has lived in the community since the 70s. They say Monday night they were watching Channel 12 when they decided to hurry to their basement.
We could hear stuff flying around, but we wasn't sure. This wind was really strong all at once, and then it went through pretty fast. I told my wife, I says, I'll bet you that was a tornado to go through that fast. And it was.
The community came together to help Gwen Schultz and his wife clean up their property. By doing so, they were able to clear out the property within a couple hours, something Schultz says he wouldn't have been able to do on his own.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? It's really wonderful. Well, I'm 82 and there's not much I can do, so it's really appreciated.
Gwen says he may not know everyone in the town anymore, but that hasn't stopped them from coming to his aid.
I'm actually not sure who the homeowner is. We're just kind of going around and helping where we need it. We're a pretty tight-knit community, and we like to help each other out when we need it.
Both men say they're just thankful nobody was hurt, and they know the community will continue to work together to move forward. Amy Lanski, Eyewitness News.
If you do want to help, there are a few ways. They need money to help with the recovery efforts. That's really what they need the most. And they say they have plenty of food and water donated, so don't send that. City says you can send checks to the city of Selden, P.O. Box 54 there in Selden. We're sharing this information for you as well on the KWCH app, so you can find it there. If you want to volunteer, they ask that you do check in at the Incident Command Center. That's right in the center of town. They've had hundreds of volunteers that have checked in today. That doesn't include the initial volunteers who, as you heard, showed up as soon as the tornado hit. Red Cross has been called in. Officials say there's still a lot of cleanup over the next few days there. It is up to the National Weather Service to determine how strong a tornado is. And in the last hour, they gave that Selden tornado an EF1 rating. Meteorologist Sarah Fletcher joins us now with more on how that process works. Sarah?
Mike, the National Weather Service sent out a survey crew today to Selden to assess the damage and figure out that rating. So again, that rating EF1, that's a maximum wind of 110 miles per hour. This started about 4 miles west of Selden, and then it ended at 6:36, that's Central Time, 2 miles northeast of Selden. Now, when they went out and looked at all the damage, like this tree that was knocked over and all of the damage to all of the buildings, that's how they estimated the maximum wind, and that's based on 3 seconds of wind gust, and that's where they get the rating from. So that 110 mile per hour wind, that's on the high end of an EF1, very close to EF2, but still looking at an EF1 there with that max wind of 110. Mike?
The intensity of that 1 minute and 13 seconds is like nothing a guy could try and explain.
Well, once-in-a-lifetime experience caught on camera, at least one would hope. You may have seen the viral video shared on social media today. A Kansas farmer experiencing the inside of that Selden tornado. Caroline Elliot has his story.
Kansans are used to severe weather.
Saw a funnel cloud 2-3 miles west of Selden and took some pictures and video, and as it started getting a little bit closer, I told the boys it's time to go.
But Nathan Kelly says he got too close for comfort.
And before you knew it, it was right over the top of us, and it blew the windows out.
Stay on! Hang on! The Kansas farmer not only witnessed the Selden tornado, but experienced the inside of the tornado and lived to tell his story.
It's really put into perspective how lucky we were last night. We were not alone. We definitely had somebody was watching over us. I'm pretty sure there were some hands over the top of us keeping us down. Because just a couple hundred yards away, there was train cars that were ripped off their axles and laid on the ground next to the tracks. And here we are in a pickup that's half that weight or less.
Nathan Kelly says advice his late father gave him 20 years ago saved his life. Facing your car in the opposite direction of the storm.
Holding my breath until I heard all three of their voices. And once I heard their voices, okay, it's time to go again. And just making sure those boys were okay and not beat up and not broken and not cut up. And my dad gave me that advice years ago, way before he died, that that's how you get when you have no other choice. That's how you put your car. And it saved 4 lives last night.
Kelly and his crew are okay.
I've got pieces in my hands and stuff like that we can't, it's just gonna have to work its way out, you know. The bad ones are when you readjust in a pickup and you find one in your butt cheek.
And next time, they plan to take shelter. Just to give you a better idea of how strong these winds were last night, the EF1 tornado blew over these train cars behind me. Now, Nathan Kelly and his crew were parked just half a mile away from here, which is why he believes someone was watching over him. In Selden, Caroline Elliott, Eyewitness News.